Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. Right, in today's video we are going to be talking about Necropolis and Abyss of Legends, and I'm kind of going to be comparing them for, Everest type of piece of content as they were when they came out. So in my opinion, which effectively was better designed and, better piece of Everest content, because there are obviously a lot of similarities in terms of the fight length and, paths and so on and so forth. And first, right off the bat, I want to say that I like a lot of things about Necropolis, and we're going to go through them because it is clear that Kabam did learn a lot of things from Labyrinth and from Abyss. For instance, I do like the fact that they removed their weight. However, if I had to choose, I'd much rather take their weight for, no damage cap, but fine. I don't think the damage cap has to be there. I still think Kabam could easily, at the very least, disable the damage cap once you have explored the content, so you can go in and test something. But in general, I just don't like the fact that it's there. I think, for most part, the champions that are affected by damage cap will not necessarily always be the most effective in this piece of content anyways, as like right now we have good pieces of evidence that the best champions for Necropolis are champions like Aegon, champions like Kate, champions like Zemo, champions like Shuri, and none of them come close to the damage cap. It's just that we also have champions like Sunspot and Proxima in the game and a whole bunch of others, and many of those champions don't have a place in the game because of these damage caps. It kind of like seems extremely disingenuous to create a champion like Proxima and a whole bunch of others for them to completely gimp them down. For instance, Mantis, if you have a highly ranked Mantis, she could be good for several fights, but she delivers virtually all of her damage with 2 crits on her special 2, and the second crit gets significantly gimped because of the damage cap. Same with Morbius. Morbius is effectively unusable because of the damage cap. So it just feels, I don't know, wrong, inconsistent. They are creating these champions where they put all of the damage on like a single hit, like Shocker or again Mantis, Morbius, and then in the most important piece of content, we can't use them. So I don't like the damage cap still there. I wish they had learned that from Labyrinth and Abyss as well in Necropolis, but removing away definitely made the playing experience much less frustrating. Another thing, obviously, is no locked camera, which I liked, which I, again, found to be quite pointless because within a day, we have data mined or some modders run through it and find the map anyways. I remember when Abyss came out, yeah, we went in blind, day 1, hour 1, and we didn't know where we we're going, but within 6 hours, the map was out. So blocking the map seems kind of pointless. Happy they got away with it. I also like the way Necropolis is structured better compared to Abyss, because Abyss, it's a lot more confusing. You need to kind of like double and triple up on many of the fights, and it's not quite as clear, and you need to rely on writing things out much more. And I think a structure like this, it just seems a lot more neater, a lot more organized, so I'm all for it. And those are the good things. Another great thing to say is definitely the final boss is a lot more fair. Because at the time when Abyss came out, the Collector was just unbearable. Nameless Grandmaster is much, much better, in my opinion. So, they definitely have better boss design, better map design. I like that now we have path identities with these nodes. I do think that's, again, kind of fresher. So, overall, we are talking, I do think that there are many improvements that Kabam made, and somebody clearly did put in some time and effort studying Abyss and, learning from their mistakes, which I can greatly appreciate. Overall, however, I still must say that Abyss is better designed piece of content, despite all its flaws, despite, the things that didn't like it or like more in Necropolis. I still have to say that Abyss was better representation of Everest content when it came out. And the key aspect there is, and there will be people who will maybe discard this argument, But this is something that I realized in like fourth path as I was clearing it. Necropolis, who they made the biggest oversight ever, and that is something that I cannot, forgive them from the game enjoyment perspective. And here again, will people come here says like, oh, it's your choice that you did it, you didn't have to do it like that. But the fact that on every single path you could run in your Aegon, and there are like 4 fights that Aegon can do. I'm not saying that Aegon is the best counter for like all of them, but if you break it all down, there are quite literally like 4 fights that Aegon can't do. Right? It's like Diablo, Strife, Galen, and there was something else like Atuma probably. Virtually every single other fight, push comes to shove, you can push through with Aegon. So we have 1 fight on path 2. We have like 3 fights on path 5. And so we have Aegon, Strife, Galen. And that's it. Path 2 and 5 are like literally the only paths you can't just grab an Aegon, grab a bunch of revives, and go. And that just has to be kind of like designing a new perfect car and forgetting to put an engine in it. I mean, it ruins the entire thing. It ruins the entire purpose. When it came to Abyss, the best aspect of it was the fact that you had to have answers for these specific things, and it wasn't Aegon, right? There were so many fights you couldn't use Aegon for. Like, you have, be that some, I don't know, Mr. Sinisters, or be that some of the skill fights, or be that whatever, be that, having to deal with regen like Old Man Logan. You can't do that with Aegon. You're having a very poor time against Mephisto. This bunch of like cosmic nodes or whatever that stops you. And that was very important. It really was, because then you were forced to go, okay, so I need to collect these pieces, or you need to find answers to these fights, and I need to actually think and plan and stuff like that. And obviously you can still plan in Necropolis to help cut yourself down some revives, but it's no longer an essential problem. It's now, a problem of convenience or quality of life. For instance, yeah, I can use Aegon for Silver Centurion, but it's going to be an annoying time, so you can bring in Doom to make it easier. You don't have to. And the same goes for virtually everything else. So the fact that you can run 4 out of 6 paths with just Aegon, and then 2 of the 6 paths you will run, most people will run primarily with Aegon. And again, there will be a lot of people that take in Kate Bishop, Zemo, and potentially do it with less items and stuff like that. But if there's one thing that I have learned about MCOC, it's not necessarily about the resource cost as much as it is often about convenience and effort. And there is just no denying that Aegon runs demand a lot less skill, a lot less time, a lot less stress, because you don't need to worry if you overlook a matchup or something like that. And ultimately, I think, majority of the people completing or exploring Necropolis will be primarily running Aegon. It's going to be like 1 out of 10 who doesn't, for the most part. And that's a fail. That's a massive fail. So here's like the deal. Kabam did like 5 or 8 things right with Necropolis. But as it often happens, they just overlooked like a massive problem. It'll be kind of something similar to where, imagine if they make every fight torchable. Like every opponent that they have, but there is some sort of energy damage node that would give Torch infinite smolders, basically. And then you could just bring in Torch to every fight. Now, Torch might not be the best counter for all of those fights, but just, Torch everything. It's like, is that, a fulfilling Everest content experience? No, it's not. And again, I know that some people will come in here and say, it's like, yeah, you made that choice, you didn't do it the cheapest, you rushed through it, you don't have to use Aegon, you can always use different champions. But in my opinion, again, that's just unrealistic talk. It's the same thing as kind of like when, Kabam releases, Eternity of Pain, and Hercules can virtually do all the challenges till halfway through, and then you swap it out. Yeah, I don't have to bring in Hercules, but everybody will, because that's, easier, more effective. You don't need to think that much. It's faster, it's more convenient, and that's what people are going to do. And going out of their way to make your own life more difficult for yourself, it's just not something that people are in the habit of typically. And so here we are. It's kind of a funny situation. I wanted to make a very, very kind of good, positive video about Necropolis because I genuinely do appreciate the improvements that they have made. And as I was doing Necropolis, I was like, okay, cool, not having to worry about the weight. I like that. I like the way the paths are laid out. Final boss is much better. I like having some sort of path identities and the fact that you can kind of mix and match them as well. But that mixing and matching went out of the window because of Aegon. So this is where we're at. I'm sorry. I must say that Abyss is a better piece of content just for the simple reason that you couldn't just pick up an Aegon and destroy everything. And I cannot believe that Kabam overlooked this. Absolutely cannot believe. Like, yes, Baron Zemo is cheaper. 8 Bishop is cheaper than Aegon. Fine. But, you know, majority of the people will still run through with Aegon. And as they should. You know. I don't know. They were this close, in my opinion. They were this close to making like a really, really top tier Everest content. And then the whole Aegon thing just kind of put a big steaming pile of dung on it. Let me know what you guys think and whether you agree or disagree with my breakdown and analysis. And yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Bye.
Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about